All right, this is on. How many seconds too soon? So welcome to, this is the first live reading that I've done since the pandemic, I think. So the reason I'm able to do it again is that I am now fully vaccinated, although I still do carry and use my mask everywhere I go. And it's the Marriott Hotel where I typically do this is kind of ramping up and back to business. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to it. So it's the last Saturday in May, so I'm here to read from my book, Going Alone, and I'm going to be reading from the chapter called The Good Life. So The Good Life is a few chapters in, and it's near the end of the overall story. Let's see. It's the 9th chapter out of 11, and it's near the end, and it's the answer and response to the discovery of the great indifference, which is that discovery is the focus of the book. And I didn't want to leave my reader wondering and wanting for a response to nihilism, so I wrote The Good Life. Well, The Good Life really didn't come as a response to anyone else, but my own endeavor to have a response. Because if the universe does appear to be empty of a supervising agency, aka God, then what? Then what, right? then what to do? So I had to figure out something to do. So that's what that is. And the book of the same title, The Good Life, is also complete as well. I'm just in the process of editing it. I published it for a brief while, and then I realized, you know what? I really need to give this thing a good edit. So that's what I've done, and I'm in that process now. So let's go ahead and open up to The Good Life. There we go. So the chapter is illustrated, as all the chapters are, with a nice bit of art from my daughter. And if you can see, this is like a piece of a paper, parchment torn out of a book, and it's got a rock there, and it says, "Oh, hi, Solomon. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Best wishes to you." It's got a rock, and on the rock is chiseled, "Nothing is enough," with the emphasis on the word "is." Nothing is enough. Nothing is enough is one of the principles that's laid out in this chapter. So here we go. Title, opening poem, and begin. The Good Life, creating a life of meaning. Active in indolence, abroad who roam, in quest of happiness which dwells at home, with vain pursuits fatigued, at length will find its real dwelling is a virtuous mind. That's the inimitable Dr. Zimmerman writing about peace and basically comfort being found in a virtuous mind. And that is the goal of this effort, of this chapter, is a life of virtue. The Good Life meditation is my daily effort of recounting, considering, and developing my personal life objectives and principles. I perform this activity in the morning, usually on my way to work, as a start and readiness to the coming day, and as a reminder of the best life practices I have so far uncovered and made my own. With practice, the effort has become as familiar and refreshing as making and enjoying a hot cup of coffee, leaving me fortified and invigorated for whatever the day may hold. So I do this every day, and I have done so every day for years. The first exception is since last week I stopped. I decided to give myself the month of June and July off from even doing this, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But I do this in the morning. When I was commuting to work, I did this on my motorcycle while I rode, sometimes turning the camera on and recording it. But now I just do it in my head as I go through my morning routine. I've decided to give myself June and July off due to the fact that as my job has a very busy project that I'm working on, and I'm eliminating all distractions as we prepare to go live at the near the end of July. So I'm not even allowing myself to do the good life. I don't even read the Bible. Just all that stuff has come to a stop. Well, I'm focusing on this one laser focus on the project, and then I'll resume this. And that says a lot about how heavy this project is, if it causes me even to not do such an important thing to me as my daily good life meditation. I think I saw a comment. Knob says, "Hi Kurt, hope you're doing well. I just started going alone, trying to get back into reading again." Nice. Nice. Well, good. Well, I hope you find the book interesting. I know it's not your usual book, but I hope you find it useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, continuing. Note: I periodically record this activity on video to upload to a special YouTube playlist titled The Good Life. I recommend watching one of these videos for more in-depth coverage of each point, as well as personal examples of how I apply these objectives and principles to my own daily challenges. The playlist URL is included in the appendix. I haven't uploaded one of those videos in quite a while. So from the opening, that's all there is to the opening. I then have the little affirmation of human and civil rights. Just trying to, all that is simply a reminder to me to try to balance my efforts to look after the well-being of the majority and the minority all at the same time. I must recognize, respect, and abide the rights of individuals and the smaller groups within society, such that these are not compromised in the pursuit of the common good. The lesser among us shall not be neglected or trodden upon in service of the many. Just a simple reminder to keep in mind the little guy. Oh, there's a message. Hi, softypapa. Kurt, konnichiwa. How are you? I still remember you posting some random videos in Japan countryside back then. Hope you're doing well out there. Cheers. It's Stan and Excalibur. Yeah, it seems like another lifetime ago. The videos from Japan. I'm doing well, thank you. I appreciate you dropping by. Okay, so now this section, this chapter has 7 objectives, and how many? I think there's 27, 28? Hold on. 27 principles. So what's 27 plus 7? 34? So 34 things, objects that I recite to myself. I separate the objectives from the principles, as the objectives, of course, are what I'm striving for, whereas the principles are the tools to help me to get there. So first, the 7 objectives, the first of those. Be always ready to die, number 1. At all times, have every important life affair in order, my decided purpose, my household and finances, as well as my connections, obligations, responsibilities, and commitments. Have also my art in a state of readiness to carry on as my only real legacy and potential lasting memory after I am gone. My last photo taken, my last sketch complete, my final word penned and saved, no letters left to write, no goodbyes left to speak, no one left to hug. To be ready now and at a moment's notice to loosen my grip when life is done all at once, and then fall into darkness without a single backwards glance, or backwards thought, or longing backwards memory. So basically to have 3 things in order at all times. My family, my finances, and my fame. Fame being a highfalutin word to simply mean whatever it is that I wanted to do in this world in terms of leaving some sort of legacy. For me, that would be my book. So I asked myself, do I have my family in order? Am I in good relations with my wife, my daughter, my brother, and my mother, and my extended family? And for the most part, I think I do. Second, my finances. Are my finances, if not perfect, at least in such a state that my loved ones, my wife and my daughter, namely, will be provided for should I pass, and through insurance instruments and savings and the like, and a document that basically is, I call it the emergency document, that if I die, my wife can pick that up. has all the list of all the financial accounts, passwords, all that kind of stuff. So she has easy access to all of that. Yeah, so I've got that taken care of too. And then 3, my fame. Well, my fame boils down to, for what, if you call it that, this book. So yeah, this book is done. So except I keep making little tweaks here and there, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so that's done. So number 1, I think number 1 is, I've got that one in order. Number 2, make good use of time and resources. To make good use of these few moments right now, and to dwell very little on past utilization, other than to use such memory to inform my judgment in the direction of improved forward progress. To also make good use of whatever resources are at my disposal, not just for increase, but to spend, share, give, or apply these resources well, and in ways which are in accord with my life objectives and principles. Below are examples of some of the things I would like to be caught doing when death comes at last, to utterly snuff out my light. So, not wasting my time, right? So, like I like to say, I don't have any time to watch reruns. In fact, I don't have any time to watch TV pretty much at all. There's no time to waste in superfluous efforts that are just something to distract me and keep me occupied while the day goes by. I don't want to kill time, so I want to make good use of time. So I have a list of things that I would like to be caught doing when death comes. I'll read that list now, so it's part of this objective. Things I'd like to be caught doing when I die. Breathing slow and measured breaths. Controlling my emotions. Thinking deliberately. Acting deliberately. Remembering and acting upon my responsibilities. Preparing a good meal. Eating well and very little. Helping others. Being attentive to my family. Doing a good job. Providing good value to my employer. Learning something startlingly new. Reading an excellent book. Memorizing poetry which moves me. Studying history. Imagining the future. Enjoying good music. Listening to a good lecture, discussion, or debate. Challenging what I believe. Changing my mind for good reason. Admitting that I was wrong. Apologizing when necessary. Becoming uncomfortable. Withstanding discomfort. Suffering well and longer than I thought I could. Standing, walking, swimming, or simply moving. Making a pet happy. I like that one, if I do say so myself. Picking up litter. Recording and sharing my own thoughts. Accurately recounting the idea of another. It's an important one for me. Sleeping deeply. Discovering I am wrong. Remembering death. So good and effective use of time. Number 3. Develop and maintain good and sound life principles. I will secure early in life good rules to live by, objectives and principles which are accurate and true. I will then dedicate some time each day to using, testing, and refining these objectives and principles. Over time, I will make a small catalog of only the soundest truths I have found, which I will then number and recount each day for the purpose of further discovery and self-guidance. Finally, I will share what I have found through the example of my words and actions and my best effort of living a good and sound life. So that objective is precisely what I'm doing right now, the sharing the good life. The good life is that catalog. My only comment here is that I failed to do it early in life. It took to be in the autumn of my life to come up with this list. Number 4, cultivate good emotional reactions. I will take control of my emotions such that these inform my living less than control it. Inform rather than control. Feelings and reactions will then become life counselors rather than rulers and chiefs. Through this effort, I will create and reflect a life of equanimity through inward control and a resulting outward peace. very challenging one, to have those good emotional reactions, to control how I react to the world emotionally. That when the welling of upset or anger or fear rises up, to be able to kind of control that, mitigate it, and keep an outward balance and control. If not equanimity, at least measured restraint. There's fewer regrets in that capacity, and I make fewer mistakes, and I do fewer things that hurt other people when that's the case. It's a challenge, though, to do. I still have a lot of practice yet to get there. I'm reading a book right now called "The Sayings of the Desert Fathers," 4th century Christian monks living in the desert of Egypt. That's a big one for them, controlling their emotions. I've noticed that that's a theme throughout not their writings, but their sayings. Seems the brothers and fathers did not write much themselves, but other people remembered what they said. Next one, perform good actions. My deeds should be worthy of a life spent working to pass each day as an improvement, not only for myself and my family, but also for those with whom we share life now, as well as those in the future who will receive this common inheritance. So just trying to do good things, gosh darn it, from the smallest to the largest, and everything in between. Number 6, recognize true limits and true opportunity. I will strive to live life in honest recognition of my true scope of control, which extends no further than my thoughts, actions, and reactions, and the consequences these might entail. I will ask myself how I may craft favorable ends from any circumstance. What misfortune do I not have the power to fashion into some instrument of virtue? Is it death now at the door? Do not bar the way, for the hour of our meeting is truly at hand, and I will not attempt to detain in vain any will, force, or consequence which is truly beyond my control. So it's interesting. I just read that here. I'm about here in the book right now, a little more than halfway. And this is Father Abbot Longinus, who was writing, and I actually colored this. He said, Abbot Longinus says, "If ever you are ill, say to your body, 'Be ill and die.' If you ask me for food outside the agreed time, I will not bring you even your daily food anymore." I think what he means by that is to recognize the true limit, that when death comes, to not stand in its way necessarily. It doesn't mean to not fight to live, but to be reasonable, to recognize the true limits, and when sick, go ahead and die. And with that attitude, then, to be less apprehensive about what happens and more abiding of simply reality. It's a very Stoic thought, that, and it harkens also to another quote or story, anecdote that I remember from the Stoics, where the Stoic was in the dungeon playing checkers with a guard, when another guard came down and said that to grab him, saying that the king has said it's time for you to have your head cut off. And as he's dragging the Stoic away, not dragging him so much, just kind of pulling in his shirt, he looks over and he says, "But you all saw that I was winning." Very interesting illustration of that same point, right? That the Stoic realized that there's nothing he can do to stop the separation of his head from his body. So he's focusing instead on what is within his control, which is the game that he was playing, and the observation that, I was winning. I love the Stoics. Last objective, one thing slowly. Number 7. Do only one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly. I will try hard to never take on 2 activities or entertain 2 thoughts at the same time. That's a struggle. In addition, I will pursue each activity or thought slowly. If I find this limit difficult to maintain, then clearly I have accepted more responsibility than I can reasonably handle. Of course, there will be times I am unable to maintain this workload or ratio due to deadlines or other necessities. However, in hindsight, I will try to identify where I went wrong and how I managed to let my workload or responsibilities get so out of control that I had to multitask. Ooh, evil word. Although I do it every day. I will do this in order to try and avoid making the same mistake in the future. I will then learn from my error and become more mature for the effort. The benefit of this objective may be self-evident in my improved ability to focus my attention on whatever is most important in the current moment. Moving and thinking slowly further improve these efforts by ensuring I make good and well-considered choices and actions which are less prone to mistake or costly redo. Over time, I will become able to do more with less and make better ends of whatever means I find and enjoy a more relaxed and considered living at both work and play. So, challenge there to do one thing slowly, just to narrow things down to one thing, and to do that slowly. I find that hard at work, especially now working from home with the multiple monitors, and I can be in a meeting in one monitor, email in the other monitor, and monitoring Microsoft Teams in the third, and going between the all three and doing a poor job at all of them. So sometimes I try to simply close down everything and just have the one active monitor wherever the work is, and then the second and third are simply supporting monitors with the information that I need to inform me of those. It's a hard thing to do, though. It's even harder to whittle down the thoughts to simply entertain one thought at a time. Moving slowly helps, though. Taking slower steps, drinking less coffee also helps, although it may be less fun. Okay, so those are the 7 objectives. Now, there's some principles. And I won't read too many. I'm going to go back and have breakfast with my family in just a bit, but I'll read a couple. How are we doing on time? 21 minutes. Maybe I'll try to get down to the 30-minute mark or something. It's been the first time in a long time since I've done this, so I'm a little out of practice. Okay, here we go. 27 principles. 1. The principle of war. I seek to rise each morning, taking arms first against my own philosophy and beliefs, and secondly against the philosophy and beliefs of others. I will suffer no unsound or unjust objective or principle to survive my honest, reasoned critique, no matter the consequence to my sense of peace, comfort, or abiding worldview. I will equally yield to the warfare of another against my precious truths when these are shown to be unsound or dishonest in any way. So basically, trying to destroy everything that I hold to be true, because I don't want to believe things that they're false. So I need to constantly war against them. I mean constantly, because if I may have new information today that shines light and shows to be false something that I thought was true yesterday. Number 2, principle of reason, and some of these have sub-principles, which you can see right here in the italics. Principle of reason, with the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. So the sub-principles being the supporting elements. So if I'm to be reasonable, I need to be honest. To be reasonable, I need to be objective. To be reasonable, I need to be able to doubt what I think is true. Reason is my first instrument of reconciling hypothesis with truth. In order to be effective, I must be honest with myself and others regarding what I know and do not know, and make pains to view the world objectively, without coloring reality too much with imagination fortified of want or need or fear or the normalizing pressure of authority, tradition, or unfounded consensus. That's a mouthful there, right? But basically, watching out to coloring, as the word used, coloring reality with these supporting things that are fortified of tradition or dogma or standards, to make me think things are true just because they are accepted. That's all that really says. So trying to doubt that and trying to not let the weight of acceptance of past precedent, sway me over. It's got to be more than the fact that other people believe and have done so for a long time. Doubt is my default stance and starting point for every new venture of inquiry. Reason, at its best, is a tool of self-immolation, turned first inward as I seek to burn away the chaff and waste of unprincipled living, and then outward in resistance of our species' lest worthy answers to the mysteries of life. So burning the inside, burning the outside, doubting, questioning, never satisfied or settled on what truth may be. That is the principle of reason. It is the tool that I use. The principle of reason is the tool that I use in pursuit of the objective of war. It is the instrument of my instrument of war. Next one has a fun word I love to say, the homunculus. And I'll show you a picture. Emily actually drew, I used it as a title, as a chapter image for another chapter. Udon, where is it? There it is. No, that's not it. Oh, here we go. So the homunculus, I lost my page, is the little man that lives inside our head. And Emily drew this for me. See, it says the homunculus right there. And it's a picture of a man with a little man inside his head that's running things. And I use this as my illustration, my substitute for a concept of a soul, because I believe that the homunculus, well, it's just our consciousness, the thing that you and I are thinking with right now and aware of with right now. And I believe that that is trapped within us. It is simply an emergent property of our mind, and that when we die, it doesn't go anywhere. It just simply stops. It winks out like a candle's flame when you blow it out, and there's nothing left. So it's a reminder to me that it's a reminder of death. It's a reminder that there won't be anything after this, apparently, or at least I have no good reason to think so. So that is the homunculus. Let's read that piece. This is the small, mute, and hidden man within my head, the imaginary mortal who pulls my levers and strings and hints at my opinions and judgments, and who must die utterly upon the failure and dissolution of my person. The homunculus is as imaginary as a soul, though a much better vehicle to remind myself that consciousness is nothing more than another organ of my body, serving a particular function, and is subject to death in the end as my spleen, liver, or any other bodily organ. Well, I think I went ahead and summarized it before I read about it. So that's the homunculus, the little guy in the head. Anchor hold. Anchor hold is kind of right here. Anchor hold is kind of new. This one came as a result of there was some benefit in changing jobs and having my current job, which is much more challenging than the job I had before. It allowed me to explore some new sides of life, mainly the challenge of weathering very difficult situations. And I came up with the anchor hold to do so. And there's actually another picture for that too, that Emily came up with. I'll show you that. Just a second. Not that one. Not that one. Where is it? I need a glossary of art. Emily's created a lot of art for the book. Oh, it was before. Oh, it's for this chapter. No? I can't find it. Oh, there it is. There it is. It's just ahead of it. Sorry to make you wait so long, but it's worth just showing you because the image illustrates well the point. Okay, so this is the anchor hold. Okay, Emily drew this for me, and the idea basically is that we are sitting on a rock sticking out in an ocean, and the tide rises and it falls, and we can't really escape from that rock. You can see there's 4 people on various rocks in various circumstances. In some, the water is kind of just swirling about. In others, the white waves are kind of splashing on the person on the rock. And the others, you can see the person there in second to the back. There's practically a wave about to overwhelm them. This sometimes happens in all of our lives, right? And the challenge is to maintain our balance, to keep our equanimity in the face of whatever's happening in the swirling sea of life. Whether it's raining on us, like the person in the back raising their hands to heaven, why? Or the person about to be overwhelmed in the second to the back. It's happened to me several times. And then the person second to the back, or second from the front, is kind of just sitting there. But the person in the very front is maintaining their balance. Emily, I gave her free license to draw this however she wanted. She took kind of a Buddha type of a pose. The pose there was the sea is crashing all around, keeping that balance. That's the anchor hold. So that's the principle. And let's read that, and that'll be the last one because I'm just past 30 minutes. So I'll read this one, and then we'll call it a day. And probably what I'll do then is carry on from here next time. Anchor hold. The place where we suffer and die. And if you have an old version of the book, you don't have this, because I only added this in the last 6 months. There is an inward architecture which we create through the fact and consequence of our decisions and actions, which becomes the scaffolding structure of the inner man or woman who others may dimly see when they look us square in the eyes, perceiving a light or darkness within which shines or empties in proportion to the effort we have made to not just live, but to live well and in accord with our perceived nature and better inclination. We feel basically being able to see in the eyes of those that we meet, the relative state of the struggle and the tempest within, or the placid sea maybe at that moment. We fail utterly when we build our inner world solely guided by the prescribed blueprint precedent of others, which guidance may suffice to create grand and stately outward living, but may leave us inwardly hollow and empty in the end, when we are alone with our outer world and we look at what we have and do possess and have made, and we wonder what we may have seemingly missed, and if somehow there may be more. The danger of following the blueprint alone, following only the blueprint of life, right? Why are we so outwardly filled, yet so inwardly empty? Our home, then, a stable and impressive castle of outward success and seemingly worthwhile achievement and acclaim, resting upon an inner foundation of shifting sand. I did a crappy job with this. I didn't do a very good job of describing the sense of of withstanding the turmoil. Instead, I simply described the structure of our living on either a solid foundation, or the shifting sands. I'll have to revisit that one. Like I said, that's a new one. This whole process of war, of maintaining the war, of challenging the objectives, refining them, trying to make them better with each iteration, has really only begun with that particular principle. So I'll have to put a little note there to come back and work on that one. And with that, I'm going to sign off and go have breakfast with my family. Let's see if there are any messages. Delgar says, "Hi, Kurt. Hey, Kurt, greetings from Poland. I got booked from you a couple weeks ago, so thank you so much." You're very welcome, Delgar. And I hope everything's good in Poland. Basically, coffee. Hello, sir. It's been a while. Yeah, it has been a while. COVID has taken its toll, hasn't it, on a lot of us in terms of not only our health and our welfare, but also and our lives in some cases, but also our routines. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Wish you all the best, and if things continue the way they are, I'll see you again next month for the next book reading. Take care, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Thanks, Maddie. You too. Czechia. Am I saying it right? Have a nice day. Greeting from Czechia. Sorry, Jerry, and thank you for joining us. Goodbye. Basically, coffee.